Welcome to Double Drivel, an NBA podcast. Hello and welcome to another episode of Double Drivel. We are a weekly podcast offering a fan's perspective on the news and issues surrounding the NBA. Thank you for joining us. My name is Greg, and I am joined as always by my co-host JT. You can find us on Twitter at Double Dribblers or email us at doubledrivelpodcast@gmail.com. JT, what up, my friend?
Just trying to stay up with all this new news, Greg. It's pretty nuts.
There is a ton of news, and we got a bunch of topics we're going to cover tonight. We got Donald Trump, we got Carmelo, we got DWade, and we got a great Zach Lowe article. And last but not least, we got predictions. There is an insane amount of news, and we're going to start right at the top with President Trump retracting the Warriors' invitation to the White House. Now, this all started earlier last week with the Warriors, and particularly Steph Curry was kind of hemming and hawing as to whether they were going to go, and he was saying that they were going to have a team meeting, and they were going to decide as a group. And Steph Curry, like I said, was the most public face of it. So President Trump actually responded on Twitter to Steph Curry and the rest of the team saying that they were not invited anymore and retracted the invite. And I could say that was fairly unexpected. And the world kind of reacted. All sorts of people. LeBron was pretty quick, and it was pretty negative at Trump. Charles Barkley was quick, as he always is. David Silver responded, and the Warriors, as a team, put out a statement, I think, the next day. So what do you think, JT?
It reminded me very much of, you remember in Wayne's World when his ex-girlfriend keeps giving him gifts, and he's like, stop, like she gives him a gun rack, and he says, I don't even have a gun. Like, what the fuck am I going to do with a gun rack? And she says, if you're not careful, you're going to lose me. And he's like, we already fucking broke up. It's a lot like that. So the Warriors weren't going to go anyway. They weren't going. And only after Trump kind of caught wind of that did he say, you're not invited. So it's pretty petty stuff. It's all taking place on Twitter. The idea that sports and politics don't go together seems to be over because it all seems pretty wound up.
Oh, yeah. And the North Carolina Tar Heels also said that they were not going to be going to the White House, but they blamed a scheduling conflict and kind of, who really thinks it's a scheduling conflict? I mean, you don't think you could find a way to schedule a visit to the White House, really, if you really wanted to. So let's be honest and just get out there.
Because every sports team, Greg, at least in this country, that wins a championship, they traditionally go for a visit, right?
Yeah, and the most controversial thing I can remember prior to this was there was some girls, like softball team or basketball team or something, that wore like sandals or something, and that was a few years ago, and that was like, oh my God, that was like crazy that happened. So this is kind of magnitudes worse than that incident. So it makes even sillier.
Forrest Gump went to the White House, so that's just for ping pong. Yeah,
exactly. And, he drank all those Dr. Peppers, if we remember correctly. So, moving on. We also tried to check Kevin Durant's alternate Twitter accounts to see if they had any sort of comments, but it looked like they dried up by this point. So
Cole Cashwell's mom on the subject.
Yes. Moving on from Mr. Cashwell. Carmelo Anthony is now part of the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now, I don't think I saw this coming in any way, shape, or form. It was one of the big surprises of the offseason, and this has been an offseason with many, many surprises. So to say that came out of left field is insane, to be this close to the season and have things still happening that are this big as far as news. What'd you think when you heard it?
It's pretty crazy. Small market team that Oklahoma City is now has 3 legitimate superstars in Russell Westbrook, Paul George, and now Carmelo Anthony. It's curious because we don't know what's going to happen next season. This is the last year of Westbrook's contract. Paul George signed a 1-year deal. OKC, I think they absorbed Melo's contract from the Knicks, which I believe was a 5-year deal. So he would be there for this season and next season, if I'm not mistaken. So the future is pretty uncertain as far as which of those players would be around. But this season, they're sure gearing up for some combat, it seems.
Yeah, there's certainly an arms race going on in the NBA right now, and things are happening. And it's Sam Presti, the general manager of Oklahoma City. You mentioned Paul George, too. And Sam Presti did amazing things this offseason, getting 2 superstars there, trading 4 players and a draft pick for Paul George and Carmelo Anthony. And, I mean, these were not players in equal value to Paul George and Carmelo Anthony. So big props to Sam Presti. I mean, it's an unbelievable job he did this offseason. And I just felt like he fleeced the Knicks for Carmelo. They had to do something with him, but the fact that they only got Enes Kanter, Doug McDermott, and a future draft pick, that's kind of crazy.
Enes Kanter, known as kind of an offensive presence, a big body. He's a big man, plays center and some of the 4 position, known for being a terrible defender. And Doug McDermott, best known for his nickname, Dougie McBuckets.
Great nickname.
Outstanding nickname. He looks a little like Dennis the Menace, but not a fantastic NBA player, not a huge acquisition.
No, certainly not enough for trading away Carmelo Anthony, but it's the Knicks, so who expect him to do a good job with that? So they do have 3 players on Oklahoma City, though. They do have a big 3, as you mentioned. And who do you think is going to suffer? Because always someone out of a big 3 suffers. We had Kevin Love most recently, and before that, when it was on the Heat, it was Chris Bosh when he was with LeBron. The third wheel seems to always, deflate a little bit. So who do you think is going to be the one that deflates out of the 3 of them?
Well, I mean, they are, like we said, 3 bona fide superstars, and they're just not all going to get the points that they have been accustomed to previous years. Out of those 3, I would think that Melo takes the biggest dip in points per game. Some reporter asked him on Monday Media Day something about if he could see himself coming off the bench, and he straight up laughed at him. He laughed at him and started like shouting to his agent on the other side of the room, like making jokes about how this reporter would even consider him coming off the bench. So it seems Melo doesn't see himself in a second or a third player's role. So it's another fun thing to watch. It seems there's no slowing down Russell Westbrook for sure, right? He's the reigning MVP. The guy's a freight train when he has the ball, triple-double, averaging a triple-double last season. So we have to think that he is the number 1. Paul George would probably be number 2, but it does spread the floor nicely. Imagine a game that's close at the end and the ball is in OKC's hands. Who do you cover? I mean, because all 3 of those guys can finish.
Absolutely. So, I mean, that's going to be the hope that it all works out for them. And barring any sort of injuries, yeah, I mean, by the time the postseason rolls around, they've been together all season. You'd hope they can get it together and do some good things by that point. So another unexpected move that happened, which I can't believe I can still say that. I can't believe there's any players left to still move. But Dwyane Wade was bought out by the Chicago Bulls, and he left $8 million on the table just to leave Chicago. That's how bad Chicago is. So, I mean, I give him credit. I'd want to get out of there too, but it is still $8 million, so God bless him. So he left that, and he went on waivers, which he still is, but as soon as he's able to sign, rumor is he is signing with Cleveland. It's pretty much a done deal from what we understand. So that's incredible. So that's yet more to this NBA arms race that's going on. Cleveland is not going to sit back and let Boston build up and let all the teams in the West build up and everybody get going and them not do anything. They had a pretty solid offseason too for losing Kyrie Irving. They gained, whenever he does play, Isaiah Thomas, and now they've gained old man Dwyane Wade.
It's pretty crazy. Dwyane Wade and LeBron James being reunited again after their time spent together and championship in Miami. And here they are again in Cleveland. We all know LeBron is out next season. He's out. He's not staying there. So Dwyane Wade signed for a 1-year deal. I think it's a little bit under $2.5 million, which is a lot of money. But in NBA terms, a peak player during his best years is making about $40 million a year. So Dwyane Wade, who's 35 years old, yes, at the the latter part of his career, but still valuable to a team at that price is a great addition. That's great. I mean, you get that experience. You get a guy that knows some of the inner workings of the league and can perhaps mentor some of these younger guys. And it's all good. It's a great ad.
DWade, 3-time champion or 4-time champion? Because he got 2 with LeBron. Did he have 2 before LeBron got there, or did he just get 1? I can never remember.
You're right. 2 with Miami, and I don't know. We have to check that out.
Yeah, so definitely a lot of championships. I mean, he's championship chasing to this point. Like you said, he's at the end of his career. Why would he play on a bad team? Why not just go for broke and go play in the Cavaliers like he is and make the most of it? I think it's a good move for him.
3 championships, Greg. 2006, 12, and 13. All with Miami.
There you go. Yep. So good. Well, I mean, this would be a 4th, which would be incredible, and him and LeBron would be tied because they both have 3 at the moment. So, all right. Well, moving on, we got a great Zach Lowe article coming up and predictions. Stick around. Welcome back to Double Drivel. Thank you for joining us. I'm Greg with my co-host JT. You can find us on Twitter at Double Dribblers. How are you, JT?
Doing great, Greg.
All right. Well, we're going to move on. We got a great article here by Zach Lowe that we both enjoyed, and it's about the most intriguing players to watch for this coming year. And one of your favorite players is number 1 on the list. Who would that be?
Greg, I kid you not, I'm wearing the T-shirt right now. Rodney Hood out of Duke University, 4th year.
There you go.
Wing on the Utah Jazz.
And what is his nickname that he goes by?
Well, the subscript on my T-shirt reads Prince of Threes.
Love the nickname. One of the great nicknames, and just a great team, that Utah Jazz. And at least a great team for nicknames, because they got Rudy Gobert as well. And what's Rudy's nickname? Another one of my favorites.
Most Jazz fans go with the Stifle Tower, although some Jazz fans like Gobzilla.
I don't like Gobzilla. The Stifle Tower is one of the great nicknames of our time, and should be appreciated and not supplemented by another less good nickname. Don't like
some people. Yeah, some people are never satisfied. I like it too. I like Stifle Tower. It's perfect.
So Rodney Hood is an intriguing player to watch this coming year. Why is he an intriguing player?
I think mostly because we need him so badly. I mean, we need scoring in any way, shape, or form. We lost our 2 primary scorers during the offseason in Gordon Hayward and George Hill. George Hill.
Oh, I didn't realize Gordon Hayward left.
Yeah, suck a dick. He left. So it's like make or break. We need points, and Rodney Hood probably, if you looked at all of his attributes, he is a pure scorer. He has a beautiful jump shot. He jumps high off the ground. Nice follow through. He's not great off the dribble. He's better catch and shoot. He's not great at attacking the rim, although they. In some of the analytics that they took a look at, when Rodney Hood was getting to the free throw line more than 3 or 4 times a game, the Jazz win percentage went up substantially. So the Jazz like the idea of him attacking. They're kind of all in on him at this point. They have him still under his rookie deal. He may be extended, or they may offer him something before the season begins, but we'll see. But we need Rodney Hood, and it's now or never.
Not exactly a strong playoff performer last year, if I remember correctly.
No, and you and I watching him play you more than me, felt that he was maybe a little soft, and we were worried if he had the grit that it takes to lead a team or lead at the time we were watching him, lead a second offense, the bench squad. But those days are gone. Like, we need him to be a primary scorer, and we need it now. So
next man up.
One of the cool things that the Jazz did, and this is kind of the inner workings of Dennis Lindsey, who is the Jazz general manager, is last season they brought in Joe Johnson. Joe Johnson, longtime veteran of the NBA.
ISO Joe, baby.
ISO Joe. Everyone loves Joe Johnson. But little did we know, and it took a bit, but a photo emerged of Rodney Hood as maybe a 10 or 11-year-old kid with Joe Johnson. He's like waiting in line for an autograph with him, and it turns out Joe Johnson was a mentor of his growing up. So the Jazz, knowing that and also wanting the crafty services of a veteran, brought in Joe Johnson, the literal childhood hero of Rodney Hood, and paired the two together, hoping to just kind of like push Rodney a little bit more to get him the confidence he needs to lead a team.
That is more than anyone has ever talked about Rodney Hood, ever. Rodney Hood's mom doesn't talk about Rodney Hood that much, okay? Mrs. Hood stops long before all that.
And Rodney Hood loves Golden Girls, and Rodney Hood loves Motown music. Like, I mean, this guy...
I love Golden Girls, too.
He's dear to my heart.
Well, good for Rodney. We got that in common. I'm happy to hear that. And I'm actually also, it's funny you mentioned that. I looked down while you were speaking, and I'm wearing my Utah Jazz shirt today, too. So...
You're a lover, strange. Greg. You can't help it.
I know. I can't help it. I'm a closet Utah fan. Another person that was on the intriguing player list was Justice Winslow, who is another player that I don't feel like has reached his potential, and another guy from Duke. And he had a lot of promise coming out of college, but like you said, just hasn't lived up to it, and was almost a part of a deal 2 years ago to go to Boston. And Boston is probably very thankful they did not pull the trigger and make that deal. And also one of the people on the list was Andre Drummond, who I know you have some feelings on from the Detroit Pistons.
Just through what I read through the article, they made reference to Rudy Gobert again. I think Andre Drummond has a lot of potential he hasn't quite realized. He plays no defense. He plays kind of lazy on offense on occasion. The article made mention of him. The Pistons would love for Drummond to become what Rudy Gobert's game has become, which is a very defensive, heavy, paint looming center. But
almost
it also
a stifling tower, if you will.
But it also said they would be happy enough to take him as a DeAndre Jordan type.
Yeah, well, oh my God. If Andre Jordan is what you're reaching towards, then I don't know. You're reaching a little low, but he has his strengths.
Wretched and disgusting from the free throw line. Just negative stats from the free throw line. The easiest fucking shot in this game is like when no one's covering you and you literally have nothing in your way but yourself, and he's disgusting. He can't make them.
I love watching awkward things and having awkward things happen in front of me. I cannot watch that guy shoot free throws. I have to turn. It's just too much for me. It's just not good. It's just disgusting to watch. So,
you turn away from the screen when he's shooting free throws?
I can't. I know they're not going in. It's just so bad. It's embarrassing for all of us. I can't believe we're watching it. I can't believe it. So, moving on. I know. Exasperation all around. Mitch is very unhappy, too. Does not like DeAndre Jordan. Moving on. The NBA is also proposing some draft changes. And they're possibly tired of the tanking, I think we could say, maybe. And I don't think that they would have been outwardly aggressive towards tanking if it hadn't just become such an out there thing that everybody knew and was talking about. I mean, there's no subtlety to it. People are just openly tanking, and that's not something that they can have. So they're looking to change the rules a little bit so that the worst three teams share a 14% chance to get the top pick. Do you think this will help, JT?
I guess it depends what the end goal is. I mean, tanking is when you lose intentionally so that you get a really poor record. And the benefit is that the team with the worst record at the end of the season gets the best choice of the new rookies coming in. You get the best draft slot. So, Greg, people are just going to figure out how to rig this system as they figured out how to rig the previous system, because that's how people work. And when there's this much money in the line with organizations and sometimes entire states, that depending on the revenue generated from these teams, people will just figure it out. So for a year or two, perhaps it levels the playing field, but I guarantee you that we'll be talking about this in a year or two about what we need to change again to counteract what people have done.
I'm sure we will. So if you had to pick the three teams right now, we have predictions coming up next, but as a little preview prediction, I'm going to give you two of the teams that I think are going to be the worst teams in the league. You got another one to add to this? I got the Knicks and the Bulls pulling it up the rear. Who else do you think is going to be in the bottom, possibly with that 14% chance for the first pick?
Jeez.
There's some stinkers.
I don't know who leads the Orlando Magic right now. I don't know who leads the Indiana Pacers right now. I just perhaps. I don't think it'll be a team in the West.
No. I mean, every team we've named so far, with four teams, they've all been in the East. So
the East is terrible. The East is terrible.
Yeah, it's definitely JV this year.
I choose the Pacers. I think the Pacers are in there with your other two. I would be remiss if I neglected the Brooklyn Nets.
Yes, also terrible. So, good guess. So, we are going to move on, and it's time for predictions. Yeah, let's move on. What do you got, JT? Let's get our first prediction out there.
Tell me, Greg, who is the league's most improved player this season?
If I had to pick a most improved player, I think it's got to be somebody that kind of fell off last year. And I'm not sure if LaMarcus Aldridge fell off enough to be considered the most improved player this year if he gets better. But if the Spurs are going to have a chance in the West, they're going to need everybody to play as well as they can play. And he's going to have to step up. So if he does step up and if he has a good year, especially after last year, I think he could be in contention for most improved player.
I will double down on one Rodney Hood as the most improved player in the NBA for this season. You heard it here first, Greg. Rodney Hood.
Wow. And you know what? You're not hearing that anywhere else. Nowhere else is anybody taking that bet. But good. That's a quality.
They're sleeping
quality
on my
guy.
man. They are sleeping on him.
I don't know. I mean, if he's going to shine in the West, then that means he had a great season. So I wish you the best of luck, because that's going to be something for him to have that.
May you shine as brightly as a Golden Girls marathon, my friend.
Oh, I got nothing for that. Let's move on. Let me give you a little something. We have a lot of new players in the East, and there are possibly a lot of all-star level players. I mean, the more we look at it, DWade has a chance of making it out. This could be like the old man conference in the East. Do you think Gordon Hayward, who moved from the West, do you think he will make the all-star team, which I'm pretty confident that he will, but do you think he will start?
I do, unfortunately, just because it's thin. It's too thin out there. I mean, I can't think of anyone else that made the all-star team last year that made that trip from West to East. You went from, Murderer's Row to kindergarten style. I mean, it's thin over there. Yes, he will start. I don't know who will be the other players on the team with him, but I do think shitbag Gordon Hayward will start.
There you go. I just, want to get a little more Gordon Hayward in there if I could. So sorry about that.
Yeah. Shithead.
Happens. All right. Well, great show there, JT. Do you have anything you're looking forward to this week? Anything coming up in the NBA that you're looking forward to? The preseason starts sooner than I think both of us realize.
Just under 10 days, I believe, and then the regular season starts October 17th. I'm looking forward to opening day. They have, by no accident, opening day. We have Cleveland playing Boston, which should be incredible.
Yeah, great opening day games. I mean, that whoever picked that lineup of games, it's like they had some sort of foresight. That's some good vision right there.
Absolutely, it's going to be fireworks, and we should expect this season to follow suit.
All right. Well, we'll be back next week with another episode. In the meantime, you can follow us on Twitter at Double Dribblers, or you can email us at doubledrivelpodcast@gmail.com. Subscribe to us on iTunes, SoundCloud, or Google Play. And thanks for listening. And until next week, see you on the internet.